Hey, welcome back to PewTube. I am Kevin Inoue with Fight Designer LLC, it's been an interesting week. We got some new developments. I am in the midst of attending the Mid-Atlantic Theater Conference, MATC. This is my first year doing MATC. I've done a bunch of the other conferences and festivals, KCACTF Region 7, which is where I was when I was in Wyoming. I was part of that group. ATHA, which I'll be going back to in August, and the ATME pre-conferences with that. SETC, which is a huge one down south. MATC, this is a new one to me. It's interesting because it is almost entirely faculty and grad students, mostly junior faculty. Yeah, it's not a recruiting event for college programs or undergrad programs the way that I was participating in heavily while I was in Wyoming. So it's a different crowd, trying to get a feel for it, but I think the presentations I had went well. But in the world of theatrical firearms, our new development. Some of you may remember that a few years back, I put a couple of videos on my Fight Designer account that were about the new Retay models, which were briefly available within the US from Sharp Imports, I think it was, that was bringing those in. Simultaneous with that, for those of you who are in the world of stage combat, I published within the Fight Master, the Journal of the Society of American Fight Directors, a review of some of those Retay models, both as a review of the product and sort of a model of here's how you might evaluate a type of blank gun when you get it. Here's some things to look for, some considerations. And I think those YouTube videos reviewing the Retay models are some of the most watched videos I've got. I'll put some links down here if you want to check them out. But, thousands of hits. So obviously there's interest. But funnily enough, by the time that article came out, they'd stopped importing them. They had one batch that this company imported to the US, and then they stopped. So, there's still people elsewhere in the world that are able to get them, but the US market had completely dried up. So all these things came out, and then people were like, oh great, where can I get it? And I kind of had to say you can't. Or you can rent them from me through Fight Designer LLC, but you can't just go out and buy them. But one of the really old-time, dependable players in the game of theatrical prop firearms, Western Stage Props, has apparently started to have a deal with them. So now they have just a couple of models that they're introducing, some of which existed before. So the Retay XR was one of the ones that I reviewed before. I had that with I think it was the brushed steel slide. But also a model that was not previously imported into the US. So I'm going to start this week with a unboxing of the props that I just got from them. And then maybe I'll do a little more in-depth stuff when I have some more time and I'm not in the middle of the conference and submitting midterm grades. So, Western Stage Props. I have gone to them for ages, especially when I'm half-load blanks, because that's something that not everybody has always had, and they have half-load crimp blanks. I've got this lovely catalog that just came with the box here as I open it up. And they also have, rubber props and breakaways and things like that. They do tend to specialize in, Wild West kind of stuff, as befits the name. So they're a great source of bullwhips and things like that. But also, they have some, this is their Indiana Jones collection, which of course goes nicely with your bullwhip, and some pirate flintlocks and things like that. Also some foam and rubber stuff here. The Squib FX. Interesting. So they're now partnering with Squib FX. I think if I remember correctly, these are the little solenoid-powered air compressor rigs. So they've got the Rodriguez rig, the Tarantino rig, and the Bond rig. CO2 powered. And that one's pneumatic, that one's pneumatic. But, a nice way to do sort of safer and not requiring a pyrotechnic license, bloodshot squib effects, which can be fun. Currently been working with a production of Gloria at Cleveland Public Theater that has a shooting in it. We're probably going to be using some air pressure effects for that. I'll be probably doing some sort of a video on that sometime later when that comes out. And this being Western Stage Props, in addition to all the various different blanks they have holsters, they have Western guns, they have blank adapters, and blank firing pistols. Let's see if they have the Retay ones in the catalog yet. Not seeing them. Non-firing, blank firing. Yeah, they don't have them here yet. So they have the standard, you know, Eccles, Voltran, Bruni kind of stuff. The stuff that we've seen for ages. And they tend to have some of the nicer Civil War era ones as well. They have rubber guns, rubber long guns. You know, they're not cheap, but they're decent quality. And, you know, you get your non-firing revolvers for your gun spinning effects. I actually don't have any of these Western style, Civil War style blank firing revolvers of theirs yet. Been wanting to pick one of those up sometime. Although there are some issues with those that I've heard. The fact that at least one of these doesn't have an actual gate across the loading open cylinder probably is connected to accident involving an actor getting a round. It's probably a hang fire that fired back into his face, disfigured him somewhat. There's a lawsuit there, so they weren't saying a whole lot. I can talk more about that later if people are interested. Anyway, looks like the Retay stuff's not in their catalog yet, but that came with it. So, here we go, the unboxing. As before, these Retays come in this nice case. It's a little bit nicer than your standard kind of case that the Bruni, Kimar, Voltran, or even the Umarex come in. The Umarex ones are sometimes a little bit bigger, but not necessarily carved out foam. So let's see what we got here. Here we go. So yes, we have the same as before, custom cutout foam. The Retay XR, again, this is a pretty obvious attempt at showing the version of the Smith & Wesson XD. As with the polished steel version I had before, it doesn't have the actual grip safety that the XD would have. But, you know, if your actor's holding it, you're not going to see that anyway. It does say Retay on the side, etc., etc. So, you know, if we get up close, you're not fooling anybody. And it has this hole, as I mentioned before on the Retay models. Some real firearms will have a loaded chamber indicator there sometimes, but I'm not sure what that's actually supposed to do. Once again, we've got this kind of red follower on the magazine, which is distinctive of the Retay models, and this orange plug, which in this case actually unscrews really easily and does not have a restrictor built in. So one of the videos that I put up earlier that had a lot of hits on it was a question about whether or not you could remove the restrictor. And on some of these Retay models that I got before, you actually could not without it having cycling issues, because the restrictor was somehow built into this piece. But on this one, it actually unscrewed super easily, and any restriction, I don't know if you can see there, is actually built straight into the barrel. There is also a little splitter here. So in addition to the kind of restriction to build up the gas pressure like you need for it to be able to cycle, you also have a solid bar of some sort obstructing that to make sure that you couldn't actually fire real ammunition. Plus, of course, the shorter chamber and shorter magazine that you tend to find in blank guns. It's a little odd that we have, let's see, actually no, on both. So, you know, if we're going to be seeing any close-ups, I'd probably want to paint the sights. The sights are totally black on this. But I do appreciate this easily removable orange muzzle, since for what we do within theater and film, provided you have permission from the Commerce Department, to be able to remove that before you use it for exclusively theatrical prop and film purposes. It's nice that they make that easy for you. So, decent finish level. The XR here on the grip is very similar to the XD on the actual Springfield. You know, it's got a nice solid heft to it. Feels alright. Reasonably good trigger feel. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, if it were a real gun, I'd be like, yeah. But for a blank gun, that's pretty good. Let's see if the safety actually works. So we have a takedown lever, we have a slide release, and I'm guessing this is a safety. Yeah. Safety is functional. That's always nice to see. Yep. We got a decent 3-slot Picatinny rail on the bottom. I'm going to assume for now that that's real. I don't have any XD holsters I can test this in right now. But I'll maybe try that later. And as with some of the other Retay models, it does come with some gun oil and the brush, but of course these brushes never really work right for the blank guns because of the restrictor and the little metal bar through the middle. You can't actually put them all the way down the barrel the way you can with a real gun. Plus, if you field strip these, you'll find that the barrel is integral. It's not a separate piece, so you can't just pull it out and clean it out the way you can with a real gun. So it's a little odd they come with that, but yeah, you can try. But now, let's look at the one that's brand new. This is the exciting one to me. This is a Desert Eagle copy. This is the Retay Eagle X. And they have an Eagle X and an Eagle L that they offer. I think they're just different sizes. Remove before use checked. Retay. The dreams are coming true. Alright. Similar kind of custom cut foam case coming with the oil and the cleaning rod. Let's see if this similarly comes off right away. Not as loose as it was on the other one, but just out of curiosity. Let's see if it does. Yeah, definitely turns. Yeah, same idea. So this is a threaded orange barrel marking. And it looks like the restrictor is not built into it. Yeah, so once again, this comes off fairly easily. Oh, that's interesting. Now the restrictor here, it's got a little notch in it, so it looks like you could put a screwdriver in and remove the restrictor if you wanted to. That's a little worrisome. One of the things that can get a blank gun pulled from the market is whether or not it's deemed easily convertible to live fire. I'm not going to mess with that right now, but I'm kind of curious, because if you can pull that out, I mean, yeah, 9mm round still won't fit in the chamber, but you can conceivably still, yeah, I don't know. That just worries me a little bit. I'll have to take a look at that sometime later. Oh, and this sight is crooked, which worries me because that means this is probably a little loose. Yeah. So I can straighten it out, but it means I'll have to keep an eye on these. I have had some models of blank guns where I've lost sights on rental gigs, and the fact that they are removable worries me. I'd rather have it built in because I don't care about accuracy, I care about not losing the damn piece. So this has a decent feel. This is actually smaller than an actual Desert Eagle. Well, it doesn't have the red follower that I associate now with these Retay models. But as with the real Desert Eagles, it's got this kind of partial slide. It doesn't go all the way up the front. It's got the same kind of safety here. Let's see, slide release is functional. Hammer feels pretty good. Let's see if the safety does not appear to be functional. Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it is a functional safety. That's always a nice touch. Yeah, markings are pretty clear, which means that for films, close-ups, no one's going to buy this. This is going to look like the older model of Desert Eagle because the newer ones all have a rail built in. This one does not. So out of curiosity, I'm going to now compare this to some of the old Bruni Desert Eagles that I have. Now those are a rarer model, but I ended up with two of them somehow, just because it's such a rare model. And for a while, everybody was all about the Desert Eagles. That fad may have passed at this point. But let's compare this to both a gas blowback, maybe a model gun version that I have, and the blank firing version. All right. So first thing I'm going to compare it to is this 8mm blank firing version that I've got. This is the BBM Bruni. I think this is the same line that they do their gap and mini gap Glocks with. Now this is a beast, and let's face it, the real Desert Eagle is a beast. This is a 50 cal or sometimes 44 Magnum. This is a huge, ridiculous hand cannon that like to the point where it's really impractical for most people. But a lot of movies just like the intimidation factor of this giant thing. This thing weighs several pounds. I've weighed it before. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I want to say 3 pounds. I'll double check. But this weighs more than some of my swords. Unloaded, put it that way. And if you hold this up next to the Retay Eagle X, you can see that there is definitely a size difference. So if you are going with the Desert Eagle because you want this ridiculous oversized hand cannon, you're not going to get it with the Retay Retay Eagle X the same way that you are with this Combat BBM 8mm one. This one's 9mm PAK, this one's 8mm, so this one's actually going to be a little bit louder despite being smaller. Now I will say I've had a couple of problems with these old ones, and it may just be the age, but one of these actually sprays a little bit of powder sometimes back through the back of the slide, like at my face, so I kind of have to squint a little bit if I'm not wearing eye protection when I use it, just because I might get a little powder. I can just feel a little grit sometimes blowing back. And the fact that it's 8mm for such a giant hand cannon to have a tiny little cartridge just feels a little weird, frankly. Now actual Desert Eagles, they do make in a couple of different sizes, so it's entirely possible that this does match one of their smaller models, but it is a little smaller than this one. A little less ridiculous. Now Retay does make an Eagle X and an Eagle L. The Eagle X is the only one that Western Stage Props has right now. It's entirely possible that the Eagle L is more of the full size. Again, here it is next to now Airsoft Gas blowback that has full trademarks. Same story, right? So the Airsoft Now one is also the larger size. The Eagle X is not. But very similar function. You know, again, we've got this kind of cutout slide thing. Right, so it's not a full slide. Similar construction, the same kind of safety mechanism. Similar sights. These are a little more conventional. They don't have that little circular cutout in the back. But same general idea, same distinctive kind of trigger guard as well. So it's got all the hallmarks of the IDI models, and I suspect matches better a more compact version. But if you're looking for the full-size hand cannon, this is probably not it. But it is now a slightly more realistic choice for most actors, and it still has that distinctive profile and slide shape. So yeah, what we have now here is the model gun version, as made by Hudson. I have two of these, one in a sort of chrome finish and one in black. These are really as realistic as you're going to get for a movie replica of the Desert Eagle. And these particular ones are modeled in the .44 Magnum, not the full 50 cal version, so it's not quite as over-the-top ridiculous as you can get. Again, 50 cal is huge for a handgun, even just fitting things in the magazine. So with the .44 Magnum model gun version, you have these multi-part reusable brass casings where you can load a 7mm cap inside underneath the plunger, and it will fire these and eject them. You can see where the primer would be, there's this little thing that moves in. The cap sits up against that, and the magazine has to be able to hold these .44 Magnum rounds. So when you see something like La Femme Nikita, where she's got a Desert Eagle in each hand, and it's this, you know, twiggy 85-pound young lady with wrists that you could wrap around with the tiniest of hair ties, and she's got one in each hand running down the hallway, and there's no recoil or anything with these. That's kind of ridiculous. These things are huge. This is a ridiculous weapon to use. And you know, I'm not huge, I'm not small, but you know, these are a little bit too big for my hands, frankly. I can use them, but you know, I certainly wouldn't wish this on anyone smaller than myself. And these adjustable sights are a little off, and I think actually backwards. How'd that end up? Switch that around. So yeah, these model gun versions are about as detailed as you can get. They do have trademarks and things like that on there. They do have the full-size casings, which is nice, as well as being able to actually, you know, cycle the action and chamber those rounds, get a little bit of smoke and flash and things like that. But as with all the model guns, they're a little bit fragile. They're lightweight plastic. They're not a heavy metal. And these casings are damn nigh impossible to find, so you got to take really good care of them. You got to hunt them down and not lose them and not damage them. You have to clean them out carefully between each use. Reloading is a pain in the butt, and they do jam sometime or misfire. And those 7mm caps are hard to find. So again, these are not ideal for every situation. They're certainly not idiot-proof, and frankly, I don't get them out that often. I'm not sure that I would on a film where I wasn't personally gun wrangling, or if I wasn't renting to somebody who knew how model guns work and was good with these. I had one that was a H&K USP that I rented out, and I carefully showed the guy how it worked. He gave it to his actor, but they'd left the safety on, not off, and when it didn't go bang, he just kept squeezing the trigger harder and harder until the trigger broke. And there goes a $400 prop. These things are expensive and hard to find. They're all kind of aging now, so not great for everything, but awesome when you can use them, because they do have a very high level of realism. And they're not too loud, which means you can use them in places where, either for safety reasons or noise reasons, like in a hotel room or something, where you can't get away with something like one of these. So I'll do a firing test on this probably sometime next week on these new Retay models. Just so you can see kind of how much flash and sound we get from them. We'll set up the decibel meter. We'll see how well they cycle, how dependable they are. If it's like the others, I have pretty high hopes. They were all pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see if Western Stage Props is able to keep importing these, if they maybe add some of those models, because Retay does make a number of models that they don't currently import. And I'll be curious to kind of see where that goes. Until then, if you're curious, I've got the reviews and firing tests of the previous Retay models linked below. They're also in the playlist of blank firing guns that I have here on PewTube, which includes both the PewTube ones and the stuff that I did previously under the Fight Designer account. Full disclosure, I did not get paid anything. I didn't get any discount from Western Stage Props. I'm not working on their behalf. But, if you want to rent any of these things, these are now part of the Fight Designer LLC rental inventory. And, of course, you can contact me through the website. The other thing that came up recently, I discovered in February, I went most of February without checking my spam folder. And that was a mistake, because there were a couple legitimate rental inquiries mixed in with all the normal spam that I get from my website inquiries. So if you contact me through the webpage and you don't hear back in a timely manner, you can always email me at action@fightdesigner.com, or you can even text me or something on my cell phone, 804-405-2695. Send me a Facebook message through the Facebook page for Fight Designer LLC. Because apparently there are some issues with that. One of those people, when I did find it and replied, it went into their spam folder. So there may be something about the way my website is set up that the website inquiry form is being tagged as spam by some of these email services right now. So just a heads up on that. If you're trying to get a hold of me, if you want to rent something, there's a number of ways you can get a hold of me. And if I don't get back to you, it's probably because I wasn't able to see your message, because I do usually get back within about 24 hours at least. All right, that's all for this week. Thank you, and I'll have some more on this stuff and other things later. Till then, stay safe, look good, comment, like, subscribe, share, link, ask questions. Be good.